So, speaking of God, I'm just going to put God over here. God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, "Be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it." And that doesn't mean destroy it. It means subdue it and control it and use it. Yeah, use it for your benefit with in a holistic way, in balance. But you have dominion over it. I'm going to get into that more. Dominion over the fish of the sea, et cetera, et cetera. Dominion from Noah Webster's 1828. Why am I using that? Because that's the definitions as they were for the words that were relevant at the time of the creation of the country. So if you want to know, law is jurisdiction. Juris means law. Diction, what does diction mean? It's words. Yeah, it's words, because we look words up in what? The dictionary. The dictionary tells. So jurisdiction, so the words that are specific to the particular law. And I'm not going to get deep into that, but I'm going to touch on it. Sovereign or supreme authority is dominion. The power of governing and controlling. Dominion voting systems. Remember that. So, God creates the earth. Am I writing big enough? Can everybody see that? Yeah. Sort of? Okay. So God creates the earth. And on the earth we have the land, the air, and the water. We have LAW, law. We have the law of the land, the law of the air, the law of the water. Then God, from the dust of the land, creates man. And then God gives man dominion over the earth. So if we take religion out of it and we consider that we all have different perspectives on God, we share a lot more in common probably than not, but we all have individual unique perspectives of God. If we just take all of that structure out of the way for the purposes of this, in understanding this, and put our differences aside, whatever they may be, we can simply look at God as the giver, of dominion. So God creates the earth. God creates man of the dust of the earth. God breathes into, I think I have it in here somewhere. Okay. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into him, into his nostrils, the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So God gives man dominion over earth. And on the earth we have the land, we have the air, and we have the water. The land jurisdiction is common law. Common law. That is the law that is the law of nature and nature's God. It's built right into the Declaration of Independence, which we're going to cover in a second. The air is, for all intents and purposes, I am totally trying to write in Arabic here, is trust law. And the water is basically contract law, which is also known as admiralty maritime. Trust law, if you look at it, so we have law, L-A-W, land, air, water, and so those are your jurisdictions, those are your juris, and then the words that are associated with them are specific to the different jurisdictions. Trust law, the air is above the land, so trust law is the highest form of law. Land is beneath the air, that's common law, common to all man, it's God's laws. under God's laws for man. And then the water is the lowest juris. All right? And if I'm losing anybody, just raise your hand and shout at me. I'm trying to make sure that I adequately express this. Okay? All right, so that's where man comes from. Now, God did not say when he created man, because there's a whole bunch of man. Men, women, etc. There's a whole bunch. But did God say, I'm creating the earth, I'm creating man, and I'm giving one man dominion over the earth, and everybody else comes up under him or her? No. Did he say, I'm giving these 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 300 dominion, and everybody else rolls up under them? So that's a human construct that happened. That's something that happened to us amongst ourselves a long while back. And we could get into that, but that would take a week of explaining. And man's been on this planet. And I'm going to challenge you with this point of consideration, so for you to think about. Everything that we have been told, for the most part, everything that we have been taught, including history, our textbooks, is probably, in some part, if not all, a lie. Plain and simple, a lie. Even interpretations of things like the Bible. Things have been twisted to the ends of those in control. Whenever there's a war, the winner of the war gets to write the history. The winner of the war gets to say, we're taking control of the schools, we're taking control of the textbooks, and we're going to kill those teachers and people that we don't like and who aren't going to teach it the way we want it taught, because we're the victors, and we may be the worst people on the planet, but we're the ones who won the war, so we're going to paint ourselves as the best, and we want future generations to emulate us and be us and continue our goals and our paths. So, and this is a hard thing for me, but it's something that we have to really consider and embracing, is that we've really been screwed up here. There are a lot of good people who, and you guys are in that company of people who are seeking and promoting the truth to others. There are a lot of good ones out there, but it's hard to know what the truth is. My journey, I always equate this to my wife as, she's like, how can you spend so much time researching this stuff, and how can you just get into it? I mean, it's like morning till night. Whenever I get a free minute, I'm digging for information. I have been for years and decades. And I say to her, you know what? In our environment, our socio-political environment where we have been captured, humanity has been captured for a long time, the truth is there. It is always there. And it's there as a little pearl in a heaping dinosaur-level dung heap of information. And you got to be brave enough to get yourself a bodysuit and dive into that dung and filter through it and be open-minded enough to say, oh, this feels like a pearl, so I'm going to pull it out, I'm going to rinse it off, and oh yeah, it's a pearl, not sure what it means, it just resonates with me as being truth, so I'm going to put it in my pouch. And then I'm going to go to the next dung heap, and I'm going to pull the next pearl out and wash it off and put it together, and it's, at some point or another, I'm going to dump those pearls, or puzzle pieces, if you will, out on a table, and I'm going to see if they start to fit together into a much bigger picture. And that bigger picture touches on the truth, and that's what my journey has been, and that's probably what your journey is too, whether you recognize that or not. But there is truth out there. And once I get my section of the puzzle together, Pastor Gene gets his, and Danny gets his, and you guys get yours. That's why it's so important for us to do what we're doing. Like my wife said to me, it's a beautiful day, why don't we do something? I said, no, I have Dana's event I need to go out to. And she said, you know, can you blow it off? You were just there last month. And I said, sure, I can blow it off, but that's not what God has asked me to do. And she's a good woman, she supports me completely, but, and she was like, so go, you need to go. But the point is that I said, no, I have to go, because if it comes down to one person who gets this much out of something I said, something that I shared, not that I made up, I ain't that smart. Somebody else taught me all this stuff. God taught me a lot of this stuff. It comes into me. If one person gets that tiny little bit of something that sparks them to find another piece of truth, then I've done my job. Then I've done what I committed to do. So that's why it's so important for me to drive 2.5 hours. And yeah, there was a little cussing involved with idiots who don't know how to manipulate their vehicles on the road properly. but I always ask for forgiveness. Yes, you had a question?
Okay, I might have 2 questions.
Sure.
Okay, so obviously you said that you have started this search for the truth for decades, right? So it's not something that's just all of a sudden, because like in the Telegram world, there's these channels, like the Flat Earth channel, and then the stuff with the Tartarians, like that. And they're coming out and they're saying, how, we've been lied to and all this other stuff. So when communism takes over, they come out and say, everything you've been told is a lie, and here's the real truth. So, and my son is kind of on the same path, and he's telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but how do you know this isn't part of the communist takeover? Because they're telling you that the very same thing that they did in Russia when they took over. They said, everything you've learned about yourself was wrong, here's the real history. And so they rewrite history. So to me, some of this is like, well, how much of this is just part of the communist takeover, and they infiltrated Telegram, and we're all truth seekers and we want to know the truth. How can we verify what is true and what's not?
Great question. That's an awesome question. That's something that I grapple with every day, and all I can say is God. That's what I can tell you, is that I think the main difference, I've never been to a communist re-education program, or through one, fortunately, yet. I know that they're trying desperately. But I think the main difference is between them saying, this is the truth, and me saying, I'm giving you my truth. I started this with, if you look at God, if you look at whatever, if you look at truth, we now have 20 or 30 different perspectives on truth. So if anyone says to you, this is truth, and this is the way I see truth, and this is the way you're going to see truth, run. And if it comes down to it, revolution. But the way you'll know truth is it has to be within your heart, like Tartaria, and the Tartarians done extensive reading on that. Do I discount it? No. Do I believe it fully? No. Do I think that it's a possibility? Yes. And I always go back to, everything I've been taught is probably, prior to this, is probably a lie. Everything I've been taught through an institution that is controlled by the government, which is a corporation, which is a sub-corporation of the City of London, which is a sub-corporation of the master corporation, which is the Vatican, which I completely believe. That's my belief. But I completely believe. So we have agreements. Now we have 2 people that say, yeah, that's probably the truth. We have to make sure we check each other. We can't blindly follow that. We have to say, well, we have to ask each other, not now, but well, why do you believe that? And if you say the same things, if you have the same basis and foundation for my beliefs, then I'm going to say, yeah, let's mesh. Let's do this. Let's find the 3rd person, and then let's find the 4th, 5th, and 6th person who believes what we believe. But let's always, when we get that 18th person who says, I believe, but I believe a little differently, okay. Just because we're the majority in our particular basis of our belief doesn't mean that we don't have room to grow and to adjust our knowledge or our perspective, our perspective of truth as we see it. So that 18th person may come along and say, hey, I just dug this out because some archaeological dig just found this over here, brand new stuff that brings new knowledge or a new kind of angle on what we know. We have to remain open to that always, because finding truth is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. Everything we're doing, life is an ongoing process. It's not one event. You hear of life-altering events, sure. Life-ending events other than actual death. Nothing's going to end my life. My life as I knew it it gets ended every minute of every day because something new happens and I grow in some new way and I become someone new every minute of the day. I benefit greatly from this by coming here, just by seeing your faces and feeling your resonance. It's a cool thing for me. I'm not an authority. I'm just some guy who knows some stuff, and I'm happy to share it. So, you had another question, or was that it?
Oh, I thought I wrapped them in one.
Okay, cool. Did I answer it okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. Anybody who ever says to you, this is the truth and you must accept it, sorry. I'm from New Jersey, so I don't do things completely correct. Okay, so giver of dominion. Now, God has a few laws for us, all right? So we're going to put this over here. God's laws. Okay, 1, love God with all your heart, mind, soul. Number 2, love thy neighbor as thyself. Those are God's 2 primary laws. Now, there's a whole bunch of other stuff. We're not going to get into that. We're just going to use this as the basis because these were the first 2. Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. God created us out through love, through pure love. So I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for that love back. To say I gave, and God didn't create us and say, God, this is a trust that we have. Trust law. Air. Air is higher than land. Land's higher than water. This is a trust. God gave us an estate. The estate is our bodies. The estate is the earth and everything in it. It's like if I came to you and said, hey, you know what? I got a whole bunch of stuff that I did in my life, and I made a whole ton of money, and I got all this land and all these houses, and I don't really need all this. So I'm going to give you this property and this beautiful house and these gorgeous pastures and everything you need to take care of it. It's all yours. Okay? That's called an express trust. I've just given you explicit information, explicit direction. I'm granting you this. These are all trust law words. Granting, express trust. I'm giving this to you, and I'm expressing to you that it's yours. Now, there's also an implied trust there. The implication of the trust, the implied part is, take care of it. Don't F it up. It's there for you to use. It's there to sustain you, but you have a responsibility to take care of it as well and to nurture it. You got to paint when it needs painting. You got to fix the fence when it needs mending. You got to take care of the animals and feed them. If you expect them to provide sustenance for you, you got to till the fields and you got to plant the seeds. But I'm giving you all that, and I'm giving you the equipment to do that. I'm giving you the knowledge to do that. So that what we have is a trust. So, love thy neighbor as thyself. So, everything, and he goes on to say, I have it in here somewhere. Here it is. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second, like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Everything else after there, this is called the matrix. Not the matrix as we are thinking about it, but a matrix is the founding document, the original document upon which all other documents are based. That's kind of the legal definition. So the matrix is the beginning of the beginning, that which all else is founded upon and comes after. Where's Dana? How am I doing on time? 12 left? Okay. Let me know when I'm 5, okay? All right, so I'm going to kind of zip through some more of this. So basically, how did our nation form? Well, let's say we've got a few people here. We've got Bob, who grows beets. He's got a farm, and he grows beets. And then we've got Charlie, who grows carrots. And then we've got Rob. Actually, we got to get some girls in here. We've got Rachel, who grows rice. And then we've got, what else are we doing here? Beets, carrots, rice. And let's go with tomatoes. And we've got Tammy, who grows tomatoes. Okay, so each one of these people, these are how nations are formed, folks. Each one of these folks has a farm on this geographic area. Doesn't matter what that is. We're just going to call it a geographic area, and each one of these folks has a square plot on there, say a couple miles by a couple miles. And Bob here, he grows beets. Now there's no such thing as money yet. He wants some tomatoes from Tammy. Or he wants some carrots from Charlie. So he's going to trade 1 beet for 1 carrot to Charlie. Okay, so 1 beet, 1 carrot with Charlie. So now we're engaging in trade, basically. We're trading, horse trading. All right, so then if Bob wants some tomatoes from Tammy, and Tammy doesn't really want beets, she wants carrots, but she doesn't deal with Charlie, Bob can take his beets. He can go to Charlie and say, I'm going to trade you 2 beets for 2 carrots, and now I'm going to take 1 of those carrots, and I'm going to get a tomato from Tammy and give her a carrot for it. Stupidly simple, but stupidly complex, because now you're all over the place. It's like, oh yeah, I gotta head out to Nebraska tomorrow to pick up some wild rice or whatever the case may be, or Wisconsin, or wherever the heck that grows. So, but basically, this is how a nation begins to form. So what we have is we have 4 different farms, and we say, okay, so let's combine ourselves together and let's form a town, and let's call this town our town. Who here was at the one a month ago where I did this? So a lot of you. Okay, so I'm kind of repeating this, so I'll zip through it a little quick. So basically you have our town. So, but it's not official, it's just we're just going to call this our town. We're all grouped together, we're all neighbors, and we're all working with each other to make sure we're supporting one another in our efforts to achieve peace and happiness and sustenance and whatnot. But then we find in our town, and there could be a whole bunch of other people that come on board, and it could be except for geography, it could be kind of, not limitless, but unlimited to a certain extent. But let's say that we have this group outside here called, it's a gang, and we'll call them the miscreants. And the miscreants are coming in at night, and they start stealing Charlie's carrots, and they start stealing Tammy's tomatoes, and they're just hanging out at their little miscreant hangout, and they're feasting on all of our hard labor. And I want you to understand something here, and I say that humbly. If this is life, this is your life, and you're born here, and you die here, everything in between here is your life. And that is limited to a certain amount of perceived time, okay, as we see it. So, but it's up to you. The wonderful thing that the giver of dominion, God, gave to us is free will. We have the freedom to choose good, evil, right, wrong. Help someone, disregard them. They're on their own. Oh, I don't care that, they're murdering and raping and robbing my neighbor. As long as they don't come to my house, everything's cool. No, not cool. We are here to take care of each other. Love thy neighbor as thyself. So we have the miscreants who will always have been and will always be here. The difference is, what do we do with them? Well, with respect to creating law, we say, all right, we're going to get together in our town, and we're going to say, we're going to get Charlie and Rachel and Tammy, we're all going to go out there and make sure and guard each other's various areas or farms and guard against the miscreants. But is that realistic? Am I going to actually go across town almost every night or every other night after working my farm all day and whatnot and guard Dana's area? No, it's not going to happen. So what we have to do is we have to actually say, all right, well, Charlie's got a kid, and Tammy's got a kid, and Rachel's got a kid, and Bob's got a kid, and all these other people have kids or themselves who can do this, and we can pay them in beets and carrots and so on and so forth to say, all right, we're going to turn you guys into, we're going to create a legal office, a lawful office, and we're going to call it the office of the constable. The constable is a very, very old law form, and my brother's actually a constable in Tennessee, the one I ran his election thing for, election program. So a constable is an elected official, and they're generally over a town. So we have our town. We create the office of the constable. So is the constable an actual thing? No, we create it. We say you're in charge of making sure that our area is safe from the miscreants. So the next time the miscreants come in, and what we're going to do is we're going to make sure you're compensated to do that. We're going to give you enough beets and carrots and potatoes and everything else to go and trade those for cars and weapons and whatever you need to do your job to make sure that we're protected. But you work for us. So we created this. If this doesn't work out, do we have every single right to get rid of it? That's the way government works, folks. If we create this and say, okay, you're our leaders, you tell us what to do, is that a smart move? No. They're there as our guards. Now they may say, hey, look, as your guards, we think you guys should consider putting up fences. We think you should do this, and we think you should do that to ensure that the real bad guys don't do to you what they've been doing. Is that a smart way to move, to work with them? Yeah. They're there to protect us. They're our guards. It's built right into the Declaration of Independence. We have the right to throw off the old guard if they no longer do what is necessary or what is correct. Okay? So next time you go to the polls, think about this. If you're voting for someone as a leader rather than a representative, someone who is representing your wishes, your will comes under trust. God gave us the right to determine our own futures. When I say, I wish this, there's a reason, there's a legal and lawful reason behind my wish is your command. Because when you're dealing with your actual representatives, what they're supposed to be your representatives, your wish is their command. As long as it's within the scope of the law. And there's a difference between legal and lawful. Lawful is actually legal is the undoing of God's law, frankly. That's a whole nother subject, though. Okay, so that is how, once we do that, if we have a whole bunch of these towns, so we have town 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up. And so we have our town, and the next town over here says, hey, you know what, constable, we have a constable too, and we're having the same issue with these miscreants. I mean, these guys are just out of control. We need to get them under control. So now, and plus, we have mutual interests in trade between each other. So now, let's get together, a bunch of us, and put all these towns together, and in this new geographic area, this is a geographic area, it's just called our town, we put those towns together, and we have a now much bigger geographic area. What do we have? Frederick County. This is Frederick County, right? Okay, we have Frederick County. Or in my case where I live, Harford County on Maryland. So now this is a county. So this is also in Old English known as a shire. Thank you. We have a shire. And in the county, as opposed to a constable, we still have the constables at the more local level, but in the county, we can now have a shire, and the highest law enforcement official on a shire in jolly old England was a reeve, R-E-E-V-E. Which is also known here as a sheriff. Position of honor. Any sheriff's people here today? I know there's someone who's been here before. Any police here today? It's okay, you can fess up. We won't beat you up. I'll leave it on for you to consider this. If what's happened to us is we had an original de jure county government. We had an original de jure state government. We had an original de jure federal government because it all comes together just the same as this. Got a bunch of towns that said, let's get together, we'll be a county. We got a bunch of counties that came together in a geographic area and said, let's be a state. And then the Declaration of Independence said, hey, we're called colonies right now, but we have the right, by God, we have the right to be a nation. So each state on the continental United States of America is a state, which is a nation. And then we said, as a nation, as this national thing, we need kind of the equivalent of this here and this here, and we also need some administrators to handle the money, and we need people, secretaries, and we need someone to have oversight of all that stuff. So we're going to form a government for all of these individual states who are now bound together, and that government bound together through agreement, and the first agreement was actually called the Articles of Confederation, and that's what formed the initial government. That's the first constitution we ever had, the Articles of Confederation. Look it up, read it. It's really simple, it's really basic. In the Articles of Confederation, we created the with a capital T, United States of America. You will not see that anywhere right now. Very few places. That is our government. That is the states of America. I'm finishing up here, Dana. It's my timekeeper. That is the states of America. That was our original government. After the Civil War, that went away, and we got only United States of America, and then eventually we got, actually all capitals, United States, which is D.C., Washington, D.C. And I'll finish with this. Do you want to know how far back this goes? David of the Bible, this is what some of the stuff they've hidden. The line of David. David is not a name. They've lied to us about many things. David is a title. It's the Davids. It's the DVDs. Just like your DVD, there's a reason they call it DVD, so you see it every minute of the day that you had your DVD player. It's the Davidic line, the line of the dividers. The representative symbol of the line of the dividers, and this goes all the way back to ancient Egypt, is the dove, the dove, the Davidic line, the dove. And Latin for dove is colomb, or colomba. So we have Washita, look up Washita, it's ancient. And then we have DC, District of Columbia. You know what was formed at just about the same exact time as District of Columbia? British Columbia. Columbia in South America. Columbia in South where? Carolina. Columbia, South Carolina. South Carolina, the Carolinas and the North Carolina and North Carolina and South Carolina are named after the Carolinian lineage. The royal lineage goes back to ancient Egypt, the Carolinian lineage. North Carolina and South Carolina meet at the 33rd parallel. 33rd parallel, yep. So Washington, D.C. is District of Columbia, the Davidic line. Many different families. You want to know who rules the world? The Davidic line. Okay, that's one of them. Washington, District of Columbia. There's a lot more to it. And again, it would take a week to just even get into the foundations of that, but it's cool. I challenge you with this. Go out, take what I've given you today, if you want. It's totally up to you. If you don't, God bless. Hope you had a good time today, at the very least. And we all got together and we shared some cool energy. Keep digging. Keep searching, keep looking. You'll know, based on her question, totally awesome question, very true, holds true for me. How will you know when it's true? You'll know. It will come from God. Keep yourself close to God. Keep yourself open to God. And I asked God a long time ago, God, no matter what it is, no matter what the truth really is, please tell me. Please let me know what the truth is. And when it's crazy for me to bear, please stay with me and walk me through it. And that's gotten me through some stuff. There are some things that I know that rocked my world. I mean, rocked my world like you couldn't believe. And God walked me through it. So stay close to God. Thank you. God bless you all. And I hope I gave you something interesting today.